Well, hello. I hope this finds you well wherever you might be. Once again, thank you so much for all the fantastic comments I've been getting on my post. They're greatly appreciated, to say the very least. Today, I wanted to do a quick post on the issue of VUCA, and the catalyst for this video is an article in one of Sydney's main newspapers yesterday, where the chairman, I think it was, of Orica, a big international company headquartered in Australia, said the following: that he'd lamented the rise of a culture of self-righteousness and a mindset where people are intolerant of others. He said that the decline in reasoned, articulate and productive discussion and debate at every level of society is a challenge to most Western economies and companies like Orica. And yeah, look, I completely agree with him that that for me is symptomatic of a VUCA world, a world that is increasingly volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous. I agree with him that it says to me that in a networked world, ironically, in a networked world, humans aren't as connected emotionally as we once were. You know, it's far too easy to, rather than show empathy and understand another person's perspective online, we seem to have a real emotional distance that prevents so many of us from stepping into the shoes of the others. So that's certainly something that companies need to be very active about. And I've said previously on a posting that companies should anticipate that one time or another they're going to be at ground zero, if you like, with respect to that level of outrage. But there's certainly a lot of proactive things they can do to manage those situations and even prevent them, but they often don't. Which brings me to my second point, which is I'd challenge the chairman in some ways that while we live in this era of outrage, we have trust in decline, and some of that's for complex reasons. But one of those reasons is we have quite a lack of capability in a lot of so-called leaders in large corporations and in government bodies. There was a report called the Carpin Report, one done in Australia back in the mid-90s, looking into how Australia would be able to prepare itself for the so-called Asian century. How could we take advantage of economic opportunities that potentially could come our way? And the report said, off the top of my head, that amongst other things, we had a lack of capability in leadership. And boy, we were screaming out for the so-called soft skills, empathy, compassion. And with that in mind, we had a follow-up report to the Carpin Report back in about 2010 saying about the same things. So most definitely companies are struggling with this, living in an era of outrage, but I'd suggest that some of it can come back to the way they operate and the way that CEOs lead. We can no longer have command and control leaders, and there are situations where the heroic leader just won't work. I hope that makes sense. Was after reading that article, was so keen to put something out there. Would love to hear your thoughts on, in an era of outrage where there's a decline, as I said, in reasoned, articulate and productive discussion and debate at every level of society. Is that only because of, say, social media? Or do organisations also have a role to play? If you like this, if this article means something, or this video means something to you, love it if you'd like it or share it. Otherwise, most importantly, give me your feedback. And finally, the biggest and most important thing of all, thanks so much for your time. Take care.